Good afternoon. It is Monday, February 1st, and it is our inaugural day of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And so all throughout the month, we are reading aloud from works. It could be literature, works of literature, and it could be a magazine article, it could be a newspaper article, it could be a book, but we're reading all month works written by Black authors. And my name is LD Robinson, and today, our day one, each day there's something different. And today is fantasy. Now, I will tell you that I am not a big fantasy reader. Um, it simply isn't a genre that I've typically gravitated to. But today, as I was looking for something to read, I came across something that really grabbed me. And so I'm going to read today from the 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. And so let me stop right here so I can tag her if I can find her. I don't know, but we're going to see in any case. Anyway, this is her book, and so I'm going to put on here reading from the 100,000 Kingdoms. And I think tomorrow I'll make sure I have all these comments staged and ready to go. How about that? All right. So I am going to read, and it's going to be very short. I do want to remind you that we are not reading long passage, whole books. This is for educational purposes, simply to let the world know that there is plenty out here across all types of topics, things written by Black people, people of color. Okay, so I am reading from chapter 1, everything fair use and copyright. I'll let you know. Chapter 1, Grandfather. I am not as I once was. They have done this to me, broken me open and torn out my heart. I do not know who I am anymore. I must try to remember. My people tell stories of the night I was born. They say my mother crossed her legs in the middle of labor and fought with all her strength not to release me into the world. I was born anyhow, of course. Nature cannot be denied. Yet it does not surprise me that she tried. My mother was an heiress of the Arameri. There was a ball for the lesser nobility, the sort of thing that happens once a decade as a backhanded sop to their self-esteem. My father dared ask my mother to dance. She deigned to consent. I have often wondered what he said and did that night to make her fall in love with him so powerfully, for she eventually abdicated her position to be with him. It is the stuff of great tales, yes? Very romantic. In the tales, such a couple lives happily ever after. The tales do not say what happens when the most powerful family in the world is offended in the process. But I forget myself. Who was I again? Ah, yes. My name is Yeni. In my people's way, I am Yeni Dao Shi Kanith, Tai Wur Somin Kana Dar, which means that I am the daughter of Kinith, and that my tribe within the Dar people is called Samim. Tribes mean little to us these days, though before God's war, they were most important. I am 19 years old. I also am, or was, the chieftain of my people, called Inu. In the Arameri way, this is the way of the Am race from which they originated. I'm the Baroness Yeni Dar. 1 month after my mother died, I received a message from my grandfather, Dakarta Arameri, inviting me to visit the family seat. Because one does not refuse an invitation from the Arameri, I set forth. It took the better part of 3 months to travel from the high north continent of Sim across the repentant sea. Despite Dar's relative poverty, I traveled in style the whole way. First by palanquin, an ocean vessel, and finally by chauffeured horse coach. This was not my choice. The Dar Warriors Council, which rather desperately hoped that I might restore us to the Arameri's good grace, thought that this extravagance would help. It is well known that respects displays of wealth. Thus arrayed, I arrived at my destination on the cusp of the winter solstice, and as a driver stopped the coach on a hill outside the city, ostensibly to water the horses, but more likely because he was a local and liked to watch foreigners gawk, I got my first glimpse of the 100,000 kingdoms heart. There is a rose that is famous in high north. This is not a digression. It is called the altar skirt rose. Not only do its petals unfold in a radiance of pearled white, but frequently it grows an incomplete secondary flower about the base of its stem. In its most prized form, the altar skirt grows a layer of overlarge petals that drape the ground. The two bloom in tandem, seed-bearing head and skirt, glory above and below. This was a city called Sky. On the ground, sprawling over a small mountain or an oversized hill, a circle of high walls, mounting tiers of buildings, all resplendent in white, per our merry decree. Above the city, smaller but brighter, the pearl of its tiers occasionally obscured by scuds of clouds, was the palace, also called Sky, and perhaps more deserving of the name. I knew the column was there, the impossibly thin column that supported such a massive structure, but from that distance I couldn't see it. Palace floated above city, linked in spirit, both so unearthly in their beauty that I held my breath at the sight. The altar skirt rose is priceless because of the difficulty of producing it. The most famous lines are heavily inbred. It originated as a deformity that some savvy breeder deemed useful. The primary flower scent, sweet to us, is apparently repugnant to insects. These roses must be pollinated by hand. The secondary flower saps nutrients crucial for the plant's fertility. Seeds are rare, and for every one that grows into a perfect altar skirt, 10 others become plants that must be destroyed for their hideousness. At the gates of Sky the Palace, I was turned away, though not for the reasons I'd expected. My grandfather was not present, it seemed. He had left instructions in the event of my arrival. Sky is the Yarrow Mary's home. Business is never done there. This is because, and I am done with my reading for today. Fantasy, I read a bit from the 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. And so I hope that you have a chance today to go out and get something to read. If you have it in your library, that is wonderful. If not, there are plenty of resources out there, ebooks. And so read today. Tomorrow is day 2, and it is adventure. And I already have my selection for tomorrow. Is a book that I love. And so we'll see you tomorrow. It is day 1 fantasy of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. So get some fantasy, read it. You have until, well, whatever it is, 11:59 your time zone. All right. Happy reading, everybody. Bye-bye.